In the midst of World War II, a lone Messerschmitt Bf-109 casts a shadow over the Balkans as it hurtles towards Italy. Yet something is amiss. Nazi Germany's most famous fighter has been given a makeover, and now she bears the markings of the U.S. Army Air Force and two massive American flags on her fuselage. At the controls sits Constantin Cantacuzino, a Romanian aristocrat, international sports star, and one of the Axis power's most dangerous aces, personally responsible for gunning down over 40 Allied aircraft. Behind him, sealed into the tiny space where the one-seater aircraft's radio equipment should be, an American colonel struggles for breath. As Cantacuzino races through the clouds toward their destination, he and his strange cargo are both fraught with nerves. The Bf-109's iconic shape could bring Allied anti-aircraft guns to life at any moment, but with the American paint job, no German would spare them either. And if he does manage to land in one piece, Cantacuzino is certainly going to have a lot of explaining to do. Early life and career. Constantin Cantacuzino was born on November 11, 1905, into one of Romania's oldest families. Standing over 6 feet tall, the descendant of Byzantine emperors cut an impressive figure across European society, excelling at every pursuit he touched. He was a national tennis champion, set speed records with both motorcycles and automobiles, and led Romania's ice hockey team at international tournaments. Despite his obvious natural talent, he maintained a humble, gentlemanly attitude. On one notable occasion at the 1931 Ice Hockey World Championships, after suffering a crushing 15-0 defeat to the United States, Cantacuzino approached the referee and asked him to pass on a message to the Americans, thanking them for playing against the Romanian selection and telling them that he and his teammates would learn a lot from the game. In the air, Cantacuzino found his true calling. After earning his pilot's license in 1933, he threw himself into flying with characteristic passion. As personal pilot to Prince Bebescu, president of the International Aviation Federation, he logged over 2,000 hours across Europe. He entered the world of aerobatics, winning the national contest with his Buka Bu-133 Jungmeister in 1939. World War II begins. While Cantacuzino was wowing crowds with his aerial stunts, Europe was marching into war. As one of the countries lying between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, Romania found itself in a precarious position. In September 1940, the fascist Ion Antonescu seized power and allied with the Axis powers. One of Antonescu's main objectives was to retake the Romanian regions of Bessarabia and northern Bukovina, taken earlier that year by the Soviets. Along with other territorial losses to Hungary and Bulgaria, this had been a cause of national outrage, even among Romanians otherwise unsympathetic to the fascist cause. When Romania joined Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941, Constantin Cantacuzino was determined to play his part. Though recently appointed chief pilot of Romanian national airline Lăraise, a position guaranteeing him a comfortable war, he refused to sit by while his countrymen risked their lives. Pulling every string he could, he secured a position with the 53rd Fighter Squadron, trading his spacious airline cockpit for the cramped confines of a Hurricane Mark I. Over the next 4 months, as Romanian forces pushed east to reclaim their lost lands and beyond, Cantacuzino proved that his aerobatic skills translated perfectly to combat flying. He claimed 4 confirmed victories, 3 Soviet DB-3 and 1 I-16 fighter, along with 2 probables. However, his first taste of military action proved short-lived. Following the capture of Odessa in October 1941, Antonescu's government believed the country had achieved its primary objectives. The Romanian military began reducing its frontline forces, and Cantacuzino, as a reservist, was sent home to resume his duties at Lăraise. For a man of his temperament, returning to flying an airliner must have felt like a step backwards. But Cantacuzino bided his time, maintained his connections, and patiently waited for another opportunity to serve his country in the cockpit of a fighter aircraft. Back in action. In April 1943, Cantacuzino finally got his chance. Remobilized as part of the 7th Fighter Group, he would now fly a Messerschmitt Bf-109, the aircraft of choice of Germany's most notorious aces. Within days of arriving at the front, he was commanding the 58th Fighter Squadron. His first major engagement came on June 29th. While protecting 3 Romanian Ju-88 bombers, Cantacuzino and his wingman encountered a mixed formation of Soviet aircraft, 4 Yaks, 2 La-5s, and 4 Spitfires. As a fierce dogfight got underway, his wingman's aircraft was riddled with bullets, forcing him to retreat. Cantacuzino fought on alone. Though unable to save 2 of the Ju-88s and taking damage himself, he managed to down 2 of the fighters before limping home. As June turned to July, Cantacuzino threw himself into the war with a zeal that the Germans simply couldn't understand. When the Soviets began conducting nocturnal bombing raids on his airfield, he began flying unauthorized night missions to defend it, even though his Bf-109 was not equipped with low-visibility equipment. The German command questioned his sanity, and he was eventually forced to abandon this pursuit. On July 27th, Cantacuzino would face one of his greatest challenges. Leading a group of fighters to escort a German reconnaissance aircraft, technical problems left his aircraft the only one that could be fueled in time. Setting off alone, he found it already under attack from 3 Soviet fighters. As he rushed to the German aircraft's defense, he spotted something that would strike fear into the hearts of many pilots. The engine hood of the lead aircraft was painted red. Every airman on the Eastern Front knew this was the sign of a Soviet ace. This was Nikolai Fedorovich Kimoshin, who had already claimed 11 confirmed victories. Unfazed by his opponent's score, Cantacuzino opened fire from long range, drawing the attention of all 3 Soviet aircraft. After 2 minutes of intense maneuvering, he got behind Kimoshin's aircraft and, with a perfectly timed burst of fire, sent it plummeting to earth in smoke. The Soviet wingmen fled. On his journey home, after encountering a Pe-2 bomber, he coolly dispatched it with a precise burst of fire. Exactly 1 week later, on August 5th, Cantacuzino would again find himself alone against the Soviets, this time facing 40 or 50 aircraft. Rather than retreat from the enormous formation of Il-2 Stromovic ground attack aircraft and Yak fighters, he dove straight into the Il-2 group, shooting down 2 before their fighter escort could react. As the Yaks sprang into action, he eliminated 1 before making his getaway. The incredible tempo continued through mid-August. On August 16th, during an exceptional day for the 7th Fighter Group, Romanian pilots claimed 22 confirmed victories and 5 probables. Cantacuzino contributed 3 victories, downing 2 La-5 fighters and an Il-2. By month's end, his personal score stood at 27 confirmed victories, earning him the Iron Cross First Class. Illness and return to combat. Nevertheless, the relentless pace of combat flying had taken its toll on Cantacuzino. His body gave out, and after being taken ill, he spent several months hospitalized through the autumn of 1943. He was adamant about returning to action as soon as possible. By February 1944, he rejoined the 7th Fighter Group as it defended Moldova against Soviet advances. His return coincided with a new threat in Romanian skies. As one of the largest oil suppliers to the Axis powers, Romania had become a target for American bombers aiming to cripple the German war machine. On April 15th, during a major U.S. raid, Cantacuzino and his wingmen engaged the bomber formations, with the Romanian ace claiming 1 of 6 B-24 Liberators shot down that day. As summer approached, Cantacuzino's victory count continued to climb. In June, he became the first Romanian pilot to shoot down the Americans' new P-51 Mustang fighter. The following month, he added another Mustang to his tally, along with 2 P-38 Lightning fighters. On August 18th, the commander of the 9th Fighter Group, Cantacuzino's famous flying ace Alexandru Șerbenescu, who himself boasted 47 confirmed aerial victories and 8 probables, lost his life after being shot down in a dogfight against a formation of Mustangs and Lightnings. With his natural leadership skills, Cantacuzino was appointed as his successor. Romania switches sides. However, just 5 days later, Cantacuzino's war was to change drastically. On August 23rd, As the Soviet Red Army rapidly approached Romania's borders and Germany's defeat began to look inevitable, the Romanian government made the decision to switch allegiance from the Axis to the Allies. The German response was swift and vengeful. Luftwaffe bombers, operating from nearby airfields still under their control, immediately began attacking Bucharest. What remained of the 7th and 9th Fighter Groups were scrambled to defend the Romanian capital, with Cantacuzino leading his pilots against their former allies. The man who had spent 3 years shooting down Soviet and American aircraft now found himself defending Romanian skies against the Luftwaffe. During these desperate engagements, he shot down 3 German HE-111 bombers, adding yet another type of aircraft to his impressive list of victories. The Romanian-American Messerschmitt. In this strange new set of circumstances, Cantacuzino would soon undertake his most daring mission, one requiring not just extraordinary flying skills, but diplomatic finesse and cool judgment. In the chaos following Romania changing sides, hundreds of Allied airmen from prisoner-of-war camps found themselves free but vulnerable to both retreating German forces and advancing Soviets, whom many were reluctant to trust. Cantacuzino met Lieutenant Colonel James Gunn III, the highest-ranking American POW in Romania, who explained the situation. He needed to reach Allied territory in Italy to communicate with leadership and arrange a rescue operation for the stranded men. Cantacuzino arranged for a Romanian SM-79 bomber to transport Gunn. However, just 30 minutes before takeoff, engine troubles forced them back. Undeterred, Cantacuzino proposed an alternative that seemed impossible. He would fly Gunn in his Messerschmitt Bf-109, a single-seat fighter never designed for passengers. Ground crews removed the aircraft's radio equipment to make space for Gunn. US AAF markings and 2 large American flags were hurriedly painted over the fuselage and wings. Gunn would be sealed inside the modified compartment. If anything went wrong during the flight, he would have no way to escape. The American officer sketched a crude map from memory, their only navigation aid for the perilous flight. Despite Gunn's recommendation to fly low to avoid German radar, Cantacuzino chose to cruise at 13,000 feet. The aircraft had only 7.5 hours of flight time on it, but it would be pushed to its limits on the 2-hour journey. The fate of hundreds of Allied airmen rested on both men's shoulders as they took off from Popescu-le-Ordeni airfield. Following Gunn's map, Cantacuzino guided his fighter toward the American airbase near Cerignola, Italy. The next few minutes would be critical. One nervous Allied gunner could end their mission. He lowered his landing gear and flaps, making several slow passes over the airfield while waggling his wings to signal peaceful intentions. American personnel watched in astonishment as the German fighter, adorned with American flags, touched down. Cantacuzino taxied to the bewildered ground crew and calmly asked for a screwdriver. The Americans watched as he removed a panel from the fuselage to reveal his passenger. Lieutenant Colonel Gunn emerged, suffering from hypoxia due to the lack of oxygen, but otherwise unharmed. Return to Romania. Cantacuzino's role in the rescue operation continued. He needed to fly back to Romania and advise the Americans whether Popescu-le-Ordeni was still in Romanian hands for their rescue plan. When his Bf-109 was damaged in a ground loop by an American pilot eager to test it, he was offered a P-51 Mustang for the return flight. After just one brief training session on the basic controls, he took it for a test flight. The U.S. servicemen watched in amazement as he put their premier fighter through complex aerobatic maneuvers, landing with the casual expertise of a man who had flown Mustangs all his life. His flight back to Romania proved even more dramatic. Still somewhat suspicious of their newfound Romanian allies, the Americans ordered 3 other Mustangs to escort Cantacuzino, with orders to shoot him down if he acted suspiciously. The first part of the flight passed without incident. Yet, as the 4 fighters crossed Yugoslavia, Cantacuzino suddenly broke formation. The U.S. pilots tensed up, unsure of his intentions. They fixed their stares upon him as he fired off a single shot before calmly returning to position. The Americans later concluded he must have been checking his weapons for German interference. Approaching Popescu-le-Ordeni, Cantacuzino followed a prearranged system of signals. firing yellow flares to indicate the airfield was secure. His American escort then radioed back to Italy a coded message, quote, "I have 606 gallons of gas." With this, 2 B-17 bombers, escorted by 32 more P-51s, were sent from Italy to Romania to deliver personnel and equipment and collect the first group of POWs. Cantacuzino then flew back to Italy, carrying vital details for Operation Reunion, the massive aerial evacuation that would rescue over 1,100 airmen. In just a few days, the Romanian ace had gone from shooting down Allied aircraft to helping save hundreds of Allied lives. Later life. With the rescue operation complete, Constantin Cantacuzino returned to combat flying, this time for the Allies, against his former German allies. Leading his squadron in the fight to liberate Transylvania, he demonstrated the same courage and skill. On February 25, 1945, during one of the last major Romanian air offensives, he shot down a German FW-190 fighter. While searching for the crash site to confirm his victory, he and his wingman, Traian Darian, were ambushed by German Bf-109s. Both were shot down. Darian lost his life, while Cantacuzino survived what would be his final combat mission. Over the war, Cantacuzino is credited with 43 aerial victories, including 1 shared and 11 probables, though the counting system utilized during most of the conflict places his total at 69, the highest of any Romanian pilot. After the war, as Romania fell under Soviet influence, the communist regime began imprisoning members of the old elite and confiscating their property. Cantacuzino lost his lands, and his wife left him. In 1947, he escaped to Italy before settling in Spain, where the Romanian exile community helped him purchase an aircraft for giving aerobatic shows. On May 26, 1958, Romania's greatest ace passed away in Madrid following complications from surgery. He was 52 years old.